Of Trump, a journalist's challenge is going to be? How do you cover him? That's what everyone asks.
Well, look, you cover him the way you cover anyone else. The problem is twofold. Number one, he has such disdain for the media. And when I say for the media, for anyone who criticizes.
That's right.
Right? If you criticize Donald Trump, you're the enemy.
That's why I keep saying the New York Times is not going to be happy. Yeah. And Donald Trump is not going to be happy with them either.
That's right. But look, this is great for the New York Times, by the way. It's going to make them the sort of the voice to take on Donald Trump. He's going to keep giving them publicity. What Donald Trump did for Vanity Fair by talking about this failing magazine, this suddenly Vanity, oh yeah, what's Vanity Fair up to these days?
The name is in your head, right. Oh my God, J-Lo, I love her.
Right, yeah. I mean, it's not a bad thing when Donald Trump blasts you, because he blasts everybody. But from a journalistic point of view, you got to call him out when he's saying things that aren't true. And you know what? If he attacks you, if he insults you, I don't think it's a journalist's responsibility to just sort of sit there and go, well, Donald Trump is attacking me, and I'm not going to say anything. Honestly, I think the way you handled the attacks was ideal. I think that you sort of serve as the model. And I don't say that because we're here. I'd say this to someone else who'd ask me. And the reason for that is because you got to walk a line between not letting it impact you and saying, I'm still going. I'm still going to attack him. I'm still going to challenge him, but I'm not going to do it any more than I would have.
That's right.
If this hadn't happened.
I'm going to be fair. But I will say, just for the record, it can't be, you know, as much as he came after me, that causes a real danger in people's lives. It did in mine. I work for a news organization that has a lot of money and hired me guards, and I was safe. But if he did this to somebody who wasn't in such a fortunate position, it would have real First Amendment implications. And we as media people need to keep an eye on that. That's not fair to the individual reporters.
Oh, and just as important as that is this idea that suddenly you're going to start punishing certain media organizations because they publish things you don't like. I mean, the Washington Post getting banned from covering the Trump campaign. What?
Right.
I mean, that is complete.
But it happened time and time again. It started with Des Moines Register, and down the line it went without many people complaining. And then, you know, now it's a slippery slope.
But that's a constitutional violation.
Absolutely.
That's not right. Okay.
And he is the son of Floyd Abrams, who is the First Amendment expert of them all. He'll be here in the spring talking about his new book. Yep. Great to see you, Dan.
Yeah, good to see you.
Our conversation now on Trump and the media, with a look at how some outlets are now reacting to the attacks from the president-elect. Huffington Post writing about, quote, why Trump's war on the media is a danger to our democracy. The Denver Post writing, quote, Trump's disregard for the press, like Clinton's, is dangerous. And the website Vox declaring, quote, we have 100 days to stop Donald Trump from systemically corrupting our institutions. Joining me again, Dan Abrams, Chief Legal Affairs Anchor for ABC News and founder of the Abrams Media Network. And one of their websites is Mediaite, which we like a lot. Also Law News, which I really like. Oh, sorry, I'm off on a tangent.
No, this is good. Promotion is good.
It's good for legal stories. I don't remember a lot of those people defending Fox when Barack Obama spent 8 years coming after us. I don't remember them talking about the First Amendment implications.
Yeah, look, I think that you can argue there's a difference, though, between Obama going after Fox and Trump talking about changing the entire way the media covers the president. Criticizing Fox, you know, you can disagree with Obama. You can say it wasn't helpful to him. Donald Trump criticizing the New York Times or whoever. I think those two are equivalents, right? But my greater concern is what Donald Trump is talking about doing in terms of marginalizing the media as a whole.
It's already happened, hasn't it?
Yeah.
He's already done it.
Yeah, basically saying, you know, I'm not going to let the media be the check on me. And, you know, in a situation where the media has historically been the place that represents people in asking hard questions, in getting answers from political leaders, from putting people in power, their feet to the fire. I think if you view it from a macro perspective, that is scary. Now, if they start tinkering with, do they give a daily briefing or not a daily briefing at the White House, you know, I don't think that's that big a deal.
But do you think that some of how this goes is wrapped up in how well he does as president? Because if the economy doesn't, you know, start roaring, and if these folks in particular in manufacturing and so on in Middle America and the Rust Belt don't get the jobs that they were promised, maybe they do start listening more with an open ear. Maybe they can hear skeptical coverage in a different way.
Yeah, look, I think that right now Donald Trump is in his honeymoon period, as much as it's going to be, which is that he's got a group of fierce supporters who are thrilled for what his election represents. And part of what that represents is anti-media.
Yep.
It represents putting the media in its place. These people who think they can tell us, who they think they know better than us. Okay, fair enough. The message has been heard. With that said, to fundamentally change what the media does vis-a-vis the president is scary stuff to me. When you start saying, you know what, I'm not going to hold press conferences. Again, pick and choose, when you want to hold them, but we got to have regular press conferences. We got to have a regular way.
I don't know if we gotta.
Well, I think we gotta.
Right? I don't know. I'm just saying, I don't know if we're going to get him.
Oh, no, I don't know that we're going to get him either.
But I think, if you look at the past year when he was running for the office, you almost had some journalists who had access who had to be a little softer on him because he would cut off access if you were tough on him.
Yep.
There are some exceptions, but for the most part, I think that was the rule. And then you'd have people who were free to cover him skeptically when he deserved it, not when he didn't. And it's almost like we're seeing a bifurcation of the media that have access and don't, and a difference in the coverage. I mean, can that system possibly sustain?
Yes. It's not a system that I particularly want to see, but I think it's where we're going. The one thing I'll say for Donald Trump is that he'll change his mind about people. Meaning,
yes.
Yes. He won't, he'll say, this is the worst, most awful person, media entity in the world. And then there'll be a nice article about him, or someone will approach him.
He was saying that about CNN, and then I saw Melania and Anderson Cooper that night.
Right. So no, he is willing to forgive. But we don't want this to be all about, did you say nice things or not about Donald Trump? And therefore, that's going to determine the coverage.
Do you think it's because he genuinely gets mad at these media organizations, or because he wants to delegitimize them because he knows critical coverage is coming, and it's easier if he paints with this wide, brush to just say, they all suck, you can't believe a thing they say?
Yeah, I think the effect is definitely what you're saying there, which is it's delegitimizing the media as a whole. I don't think that it's as plotted as that. I think that Trump just tends to respond and react and say what's on his mind. And what's on his mind has typically been to be able to do what he wants, right? He's been a very powerful, rich person for a long time who has been able to not worry about what anyone thinks about him. And as President of the United States...
Sounds great.
Right?
Sounds lovely.
But as President of the United States, you have to care. It matters what other world leaders think about you. It matters what the people who you represent think about what you're doing. It matters how Congress and the Senate views. I mean, these matter. And as a result, I think it's really important that we not accept this idea of completely delegitimizing the media and just sort of throwing everyone into a bucket and saying, well, we can't trust anything, so forget it all.
Most reporters make very little money. They do it because they love the First Amendment. They love being responsible to their readers or their viewers or their listeners, and their heart is in the right place. There are some who are in a different kind of business, but I hope people will keep that in mind. Dan Abrams, a pleasure, sir.
Megyn.